This is a assembly and disassembly procedure for the 115 volt or the 230 volt pump out unit, the Aquatech DDP 550, which is a bypass pump. We have three essential kits that make up this pump aside from the motor. We have a valve housing assembly. The valve housing assembly consists of a valve plate, this polypropylene piece here, with 5 outlet valves made of Viton and 5 inlet valves also made of Viton. Have the upper housing. The upper housing is the pump head, in this case a bypass with Aquatech quick connect ports. We have a lower housing assembly. The lower housing assembly consists of 3 or 4 pieces that are pressed together. The Santoprene diaphragm, the actual housing, we have this wobbler piece, and then the cam. All these parts come together as the lower housing assembly. We're going to show the basic disassembly and assembly procedure. You will need essentially a commonly found T20 Torx piece that will be able to unscrew the 10 screws that we have here. These are Torx screws with lock nut washers and washers. We're going to proceed to show first the disassembly of the unit and then the reassembly. We start with we're going to remove the pump head from the motor. You see the positions that we removed were to the left, these 5 screws. The pump head removes from the motor. You can see the motor shaft inserts into the cam area. Now that we've taken the pump head aside, the complete pump head, we're going to remove the other 5 screws to disassemble the 3 parts that make up the pump head. Removing these 5 screws releases the 3 pieces we just discussed are the parts of the DDP 550. The upper housing comes apart. There is a O-ring additional here that you'll see comes out as well. The outlet valves are not securely held onto the valve plate, so you might have one of these fall out, as you just saw right now. But the assembly of the valve housing is present right here. So in a troubleshooting situation, we start with the upper housing. What fairly common, or maybe the most common damage to a piece like this would be from impact, either a pump being dropped or hit fairly strongly. You might have a cracked housing, or if the pump was not winterized correctly, freezing, and there's water inside the housing. Freezing could cause a crack to this upper housing, in which case it would need to be replaced. The second part is the valve housing assembly. What we most commonly see here is debris from possibly the lack of proper strainers or inline strainers, debris, hair, debris of different sorts may get caught up in these orifices here, and if it does, it clogs the pump and prevents it from performing to its full performance. So we would immediately look for debris in the area, or If our pumps are made to handle most commercially available cleaning chemicals or cleaning solutions, but if some other unique solvent or other more aggressive hydrocarbon-based product is used, our Viton valves will be able to withstand to most of those as well, but there are some chemicals out there that may be tried that would show some swelling of the valves or shrinking of the valves, in which case these would have to be replaced. Our pump is not really intended for those, but the replacement of the valve housing assembly would resolve that. We can show here how the valve housing assembly can be removed. It's just press fitted in there, and now we're showing the lower housing assembly, again consisting of the diaphragm. Here the troubleshooting would also involve looking for chemical attack and or debris, but either of these three pieces can be replaced. Our warranty is 13 months from date of manufacture, or not to exceed 13 months, but in this case these parts can be made available to distributors. Now we're going to show essentially that we're going to show how the pump can be put back together properly, much in the same way we disassembled. We're going to first ensure that the valves are in their place, secure. Let me show there is a nub. There is a small nub there that you see, which goes into this orifice right here. So the valve falls into place like that. We first take the lower housing assembly in this position. We place the valve housing assembly on top of it, gently press it in, making sure that all of the edges of the valve housing are inside the diaphragm rim. Holding the pump in this position instead of turning it over, in which case the outlet valves may fall out of place. We hold it like this, and we will put the upper housing assembly over these two pieces, making sure that the diaphragm is not pinched. Just a gentle feel for how the part will come together. You can see it. Then we're going to place the 5 screws that hold these pieces together, and with a torque of 32 inch-pounds, we're going to tighten these. They can ideally be hand tightened if you have a manual, but if you have an electric or pneumatic tool, then secure it anywhere from 25 to 32 inch-pounds. Pump head has been reassembled. Now we're going to place it back onto the motor. You just need to make sure that the keyway of the cam is matching up to the keyway of the motor shaft. This can be sort of rotated into position. Of course, the bypass area is, bypass assembly is going to be here towards the bottom. And you will find matching up of the holes is pretty simple. The pump head now snaps into place. We proceed to install the 5 screws to secure the pump head to the motor. Now that the pump head has been reattached, we have a complete unit that is ready for testing with water. It's quite simple. This concludes the disassembly and assembly procedure for the DDP 550 PumpOut pump in 115 volt or 230 volt. It's the same procedure.